The crystal wine glass trembled in my hand as I watched my mother-in-law's perfectly manicured fingers tap against the mahogany dining table. The sound echoed through the elaborate dining room like a countdown to my execution. I'm Samantha, and for the past 12 years, I've been trying to measure up to Veronica's impossible standards. Tonight's family dinner was no different, another carefully orchestrated performance where she could remind everyone of her dominance. Darling, Veronica's voice cut through the dinner chatter. I noticed Zion's grades have been slipping lately. Perhaps if you spent less time managing your grandmother's estate and more time with your son. My 10-year-old son's face fell beside me. I placed my hand on his shoulder, forcing a smile. Actually, Zion just made the honor roll. Did he? She raised an eyebrow, taking a deliberate sip of wine. Must have missed that announcement. My husband Holden remained silent, suddenly fascinated by his roasted potatoes. Typical. The chandelier light caught his wedding ring, the one his mother had helped him choose, and I fought back a wave of bitterness. Samantha, Wade, my father-in-law, called from across the table. How is the estate settlement coming along? Your grandmother left quite a legacy, from what I hear. Before I could answer, Veronica's laugh tinkled like breaking glass. Oh, Wade, let's not discuss such matters at dinner, though I do hope you're being prudent with the inheritance, dear. Money has a way of changing people. I caught Savannah, my sister-in-law, rolling her eyes. At least someone else saw through Veronica's performance. The rest of dinner passed in a blur of passive-aggressive comments and pointed silences. As everyone moved to the living room for coffee, Veronica cornered me in the hallway. A word, Samantha. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. In the study. I followed her, my phone heavy in my pocket. Call it intuition or 12 years of experience, but I pressed record just before closing the door behind us. I'll be direct, Veronica said, perching on the edge of her antique desk. That inheritance of yours, it's causing problems. Holden tells me you're planning to use it for Zion's college fund? Yes, that's what my grandmother wanted. Your grandmother, she cut in, isn't here, but I am. And I'm concerned about how this sudden wealth might affect my grandson's future. Money without proper guidance can be destructive. My throat tightened. What exactly are you saying, Veronica? I'm saying that if you don't sign over control of that inheritance to me, to manage properly, I'll have no choice but to protect my grandson from your influence, even if that means ensuring Holden gets full custody. The room spun. You're threatening to take my son? Oh, darling. Her laugh was cold. It's not a threat. It's a promise. I have connections you couldn't imagine. One call to Judge Harrison. She shrugged. Well, let's just say he owes me several favors. You have until the family reunion next month to make the right decision. My hands shook as I gripped the back of a chair. You can't do this. I've been doing this longer than you've been alive, dear. Did you really think I'd let some inherited money shift the power in this family? She moved toward the door. 1 month, Samantha. Choose wisely. She left me standing there, my phone still recording. Through the haze of shock and rage, one thought crystallized. For the first time in 12 years, I had proof of who Veronica really was. Back in the living room, I watched her hold court among our relatives, laughing and playing the perfect matriarch. Zion sat at her feet, listening to one of her stories, and my heart clenched. She had no idea that her perfectly constructed world was about to shatter. I pulled out my phone, hands still trembling, and texted my sister Andrea. Need to talk. Now. It's time to take her down. Across the room, Veronica caught my eye and raised her coffee cup in a mock toast. I smiled back, thinking of the recordings safely captured on my phone. 1 month until the family reunion. 1 month to plan my response to her ultimatum. Game on, Veronica. As I gathered Zion's things to leave, Savannah touched my arm. You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. I'm fine, I said, watching Veronica kiss Holden goodbye. Just thinking about the future, and I was. A future where my son wouldn't grow up under Veronica's manipulation. A future where I finally stood up for myself. The weight of the phone in my pocket felt like armor, and for the first time in years, I felt something new. Hope. Play it again, Andrea said, leaning forward on her couch, wine glass forgotten in her hand. I pressed play on my phone, and Veronica's cold voice filled the room for the third time that evening. That manipulative witch! Andrea slammed her glass down. She's actually threatening to take Zion away. Can she even do that? I ran my fingers over the old photo album in my lap, the one Grandma had given me before she passed. With her connections? Maybe, but I'm done letting her win. About time, Andrea said, pulling her legs under her. Remember what Grandma always said? The truth has a way of setting itself free. The memory hit me like a wave. Grandma's kitchen warm with the scent of chocolate chip cookies, her wise eyes crinkling as she taught me about standing up for myself. Life's too short to live in fear, sweetie, she'd say, showing me how to measure ingredients with confident hands. My phone buzzed, interrupting the memory. A text from Holden. Mom's worried about you. Says you seemed off at dinner. Everything okay? I showed Andrea the message. She snorted. Of course she's worried. She's probably already plotting her next move. Actually, I pulled up my email, showing Andrea the message I'd received that morning. Look what Veronica's already done. Andrea's eyes widened as she read the email from the family lawyer. She's filing a petition questioning your mental fitness to manage the inheritance. On what grounds? Apparently my emotional instability makes me unfit to handle large sums of money. I laughed bitterly. She's moving faster than I expected. Then we move faster, Andrea said, grabbing her laptop. The reunion's in 4 weeks. We need allies. I might have one already. Savannah. Veronica's daughter. Andrea raised an eyebrow. She sees through her mother's act. Last week she told me about how Veronica tried to sabotage her wedding because she didn't approve of the groom. Andrea started typing. Okay, so Savannah's a potential ally. Who else? A knock at the front door made us both jump. I opened it to find Daniel, our family friend and neighbour, holding a casserole dish. Thought you might need this, he said, stepping inside. Saw you rushing over here looking upset after the dinner at Veronica's. Andrea and I exchanged glances. Daniel had been friends with the family for years, and more importantly, he'd witnessed Veronica's manipulation, firsthand. Actually, Daniel, I said, taking the dish, we could use your advice. Over the next hour, we played him the recording and outlined what we knew. His usual jovial expression grew serious. I've watched that woman destroy relationships for years, he said finally. It's time someone stood up to her. Count me in. My phone buzzed again. Another email. My hands shook as I read it. She's called an emergency meeting with the estate lawyers tomorrow, I whispered. She's not waiting for my answer. She's trying to force their hand now. Then we don't wait either, Andrea said firmly. The reunion's too far away. We need to act sooner. Daniel leaned forward. The garden party next week. Veronica's hosting it for the hospital board members. All her precious connections will be there. No, I said, an idea forming. The reunion is perfect. Let her think she's winning. Let her get comfortable. Meanwhile, I pulled up my contacts. Savannah, can you meet tomorrow? There's something you need to hear. After setting up the meeting, I opened Grandma's photo album again. There she was, strong and smiling, teaching me to bake in that sunny kitchen. On the back of the photo, her handwriting still clear. To my brave girl, remember, standing up for yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. Grandma knew, I said softly. She knew Veronica would try something like this. It's why she left such detailed records of her wishes for the inheritance. Andrea squeezed my hand. Then let's make her proud. Daniel stood up, determination in his eyes. I'll start documenting every interaction I've witnessed between you and Veronica, build a pattern of her behaviour. And I'll talk to Wade, Andrea added. Your father-in-law might be quiet, but he sees more than he lets on. I nodded, feeling stronger than I had in years. One thing's certain, Veronica won't see this coming. She thinks I'm the same quiet, compliant daughter-in-law I've always been. Her mistake, Andrea grinned. She never realised that the quiet ones are the most dangerous when pushed too far. As I drove home that night, Grandma's words echoed in my mind. The truth has a way of setting itself free. Soon, very soon, Veronica would learn just how free the truth could be. The coffee shop buzzed with morning activity as I waited for Savannah. My hands clutched a manila envelope containing copies of Veronica's emails, the recorded conversation, and years of documented incidents I'd been quietly collecting. Savannah swept in, designer sunglasses hiding what looked like tired eyes. This better be good, Sam. I had to tell Mom I was at yoga. Listen to this first, I said, sliding my phone across the table and pressing play. As Veronica's threats filled her earbuds, Savannah's perfectly composed face crumbled. She yanked out the earbuds before the recording finished. That manipulative bye... She caught herself glancing around. I knew she was planning something, but this? There's more. I opened the envelope. Look at these emails to the lawyers. Savannah's hands trembled as she read. She's using the same playbook she used on me during my divorce. Emotional instability. Concerns about financial responsibility. God, it's like reading my own story. I need your help, Savannah. The reunion... Say no more. She pulled out her phone. I've got years of dirt on her. Remember last Christmas when she accidentally leaked those photos of Jessica's daughter at that party? Nearly ruined the poor girl's college applications. I have the texts proving it was deliberate. A message from Holden lit up my phone. Where are you? Mom's here. She's upset about something. Speaking of the devil, I muttered, showing Savannah the text. Go, she said, gathering the documents. I'll make copies of everything. And, Sam, be careful. When she's backed into a corner, she gets dangerous. I rushed home to find Veronica perched on my living room sofa, Holden standing by the window with his arms crossed. Care to explain this? Veronica thrust her phone at me. On the screen was an email from her lawyer mentioning my request for all documentation related to Grandma's estate. I'm just being thorough, I said, keeping my voice steady. It's a lot of money. Money you clearly can't handle, she snapped. Holden, tell her. Holden shifted uncomfortably. Sam, maybe Mom's right. You've been acting strange lately. Secretive. Maybe it would be better to let someone with more experience... More experience? I cut in. You mean someone like your mother, who's never worked a day in her life but somehow controls everyone's finances? Don't take that tone with my son, Veronica stood, her voice sharp. Your son? What about my son? You're threatening to take him away from me. Holden's head snapped up. What? Mum, what is she talking about? Veronica's laugh was practiced. Perfect. Oh, darling, she's clearly overwhelmed. This is exactly why I'm concerned. These paranoid accusations. Paranoid. I grabbed my phone, finger hovering over the play button. Should we listen to our conversation in your study? The colour drained from Veronica's face. You recorded me. That's illegal. Actually, I smiled, in this state, only one party needs to consent to a recording. I looked it up. Holden stepped between us. Both of you stop. Sam, whatever you think you're doing. What I'm doing? I turned to him. What about what she's doing? What about what she's always done? Ask Savannah about her divorce. Ask Wade about the family business she nearly destroyed. Ask anyone. Enough! Veronica grabbed her purse. Holden, we're leaving. And Samantha, remember what we discussed? Time is running out. After they left, I sank onto the sofa, my hands shaking. My phone buzzed with a text from Savannah. Got everything copied. Meeting Wade for lunch tomorrow. He wants to help. Another message followed, this one from Andrea. Daniel found old emails from Veronica to the hospital board. You won't believe what she did to that nurse who stood up to her. The front door opened and Holden walked back in. We need to talk. Now you want to talk? I stood. After 12 years of watching your mother tear me down. Sam, she's just protective. Protective? She's threatening to take our son. You don't have proof. Actually, I do. But you know what hurts most? That I needed proof in the first place. That you never just believed me. He reached for me, but I stepped back. I need time to think, he said quietly. Take all the time you need. The reunion's in 3 weeks. Maybe by then you'll decide whose side you're really on. After he left, I called Andrea. It's happening. Holden knows something's up. Good. she said. Let him squirm. Meanwhile, Savannah's got Wade on board. Daniel's gathering more evidence. We're building an army, sis. An army against Veronica. The thought would have terrified me a month ago. Now it felt like freedom. My phone buzzed with another message from Savannah. Mom's calling everyone. Damage control mode. She's scared, Sam. For the first time ever, she's actually scared. Good, I thought. She should be. Mommy, why isn't Daddy sleeping here anymore? Zion asked over his cereal bowl, his small face pinched with worry. I set down my coffee cup, choosing my words carefully. Dad just needs some time to think about things. He's staying at Grandma's for a few days. Because of the fighting? Before I could answer, the doorbell rang. Wade stood on the porch looking uncomfortable in his casual clothes, so different from his usual business suits. Can we talk? He asked, glancing at Zion. Maybe while he's at school. After dropping Zion off, I met Wade at a quiet diner on the edge of town. He ordered coffee but just stared into the cup. Veronica doesn't know I'm here, he finally said. She thinks I'm at a board meeting. How long have you been lying to her, Wade? He flinched. 28 years of marriage, you learn to navigate. You mean survive. Look, he leaned forward. I saw what she did to Savannah during the divorce, watched her manipulate every situation until our daughter nearly lost everything. I kept quiet then. I won't make that mistake again. I pulled out my phone, showing him the recording. His face grew darker with each word. She's gotten worse, he whispered. More desperate to control everything. Last week I found her going through my office files at 3 a.m., looking for something to use against you. Did she find anything? No, but she did find this. He slid an envelope across the table. Your grandmother's original letter to the lawyers. The one outlining exactly why she left the inheritance directly to you, not the family trust Veronica wanted. My hands shook as I read Grandma's words. To protect my granddaughter from those who would seek to control her future. She knew, Wade said softly. Your grandmother saw right through Veronica from the start. The diner door chimed. Holden walked in, stopping short when he saw us. His face hardened as he approached our table. Dad, what are you doing here? Son, Wade started. Save it. Holden turned to me. Is this what you've been doing, turning my family against my mother? Your mother is turning them against herself, I shot back. Ask your father about the business deals she sabotaged last year. Ask him about the threats, the manipulation. All I see is you destroying our family. Holden's voice rose, drawing stares. Ever since that inheritance. Sit down, Wade's voice cracked like a whip. And for once in your life, listen to someone besides your mother. Holden sat, surprised by his father's tone. Remember your cousin Rachel's wedding? Wade asked. How she suddenly called it off and moved away? Want to know why? Your mother threatened to expose her father's gambling debts unless she broke up with the unsuitable groom. That's not, Holden started. Or, how about my heart surgery last year? The timing seemed odd, didn't it? That's because your mother convinced my doctor to move it up, so I'd miss the shareholders' meeting where we were voting on selling part of the company. She was protecting our interests. She was protecting her control, I cut in, just like she's doing now with Zion. Holden's phone buzzed, Veronica's face lighting up the screen. He stared at it, then declined the call. The reunion, Wade said. Whatever you're planning, count me in. It's time. Planning? What reunion? Holden looked between us. I stood gathering my things. You'll find out soon enough. Maybe then you'll understand why I had to fight back. Sam, wait. Holden reached for my arm. No. I pulled away. You've had 12 years to wait, to watch, to say something. Your time for waiting is over. Outside, Wade caught up with me. Veronica's planning something for the reunion too. She's been making calls, calling in favors. Whatever you're going to do, let her plan, I said, thinking of the evidence mounting in my favor, of the allies gathering around me. She thinks she's the only one who knows how to play this game. My phone buzzed with a text from Savannah. Mum's called an emergency family meeting for tonight. She's panicking. Another message followed from Andrea. Daniel found the nurse Veronica blackmailed. She's willing to talk. Wade squeezed my shoulder. Be careful. When Veronica feels trapped. I know, I said, watching Holden through the diner window, still staring at his silent phone. But I'm done being careful. I'm done being quiet. And most of all, I'm done letting her win. The reunion was 2 weeks away. Veronica was gathering her weapons, calling in her favors, fortifying her walls. Let her. She didn't realize that while she was building walls, I was building an army. And unlike her, my army was fighting for the truth. 1 week, Andrea said, spreading documents across my kitchen table. Are you ready for this? Before I could answer, Daniel burst through the door, waving a USB drive. Got it. The hospital board recordings. You won't believe what's on here. Savannah followed him in, her designer heels clicking on the hardwood. Mum's losing it. She's called 3 different lawyers today alone. She knows we're up to something, I said, sorting through the evidence we'd gathered. Yesterday, she sent a concerned citizen letter to Zion's school suggesting I'm unstable. Predictable, Andrea scoffed. She's recycling old tricks. My phone lit up with a text from Wade. V called the judge, pushing for emergency hearing about the inheritance, tomorrow, 9 a.m. Perfect timing, Daniel grinned, plugging in the USB. Wait till they hear this. The recording crackled to life, Veronica's voice clear as she threatened the head nurse. Either she transfers, or your daughter's scholarship disappears. Board members have influence at universities, you know. That's just the start, Daniel said. There's dozens of these. Savannah leaned against the counter, arms crossed. She's been calling relatives, telling them you're having a mental breakdown, that you're paranoid, delusional. Like she did with you? I asked softly. Exactly like that. Savannah's eyes hardened. But this time we have proof. The front door opened again. Holden stood there, looking lost. Sam, can we talk? Everyone tensed. Andrea stepped between us. Haven't you done enough? It's okay, I said. Give us a minute. They filed out reluctantly, leaving Holden staring at the evidence spread across the table. What is all this? The truth. I played one of the recordings, Veronica threatening Wade's doctor. Holden sank into a chair. That's really Mom. That's really your mother. There's more, so much more. The reunion, he said slowly. You're going to expose her? Yes. He ran his hands through his hair. Sam, she's my mother. And Zion is your son, who she's threatening to take away from me. I could stop you, he said quietly. Tell her what you're planning. You could, but you won't. How do you know? I slid Grandma's letter across the table, because deep down, you know this has to end. He read the letter, his hands shaking. All these years, I thought you were exaggerating, that Mom was just protective. She's destroying people, Holden. She destroyed Savannah's marriage, threatened Wade's health, ruined careers. And now she's coming for our son. The door cracked open. Zion peeked in. Dad, are you coming home? Holden looked at our son, then at the evidence of his mother's manipulation. I don't know, buddy. But I do know your mom is very brave, and I should have seen that sooner. After Zion went to bed, we reconvened around the table. So, Andrea asked Holden, are you with us or against us? I can't. He swallowed hard. I can't actively help expose my mother, but I won't stop you either. Coward, Savannah spat. No, I touched her arm. It's enough. He's choosing not to warn her. That's something. My phone buzzed. A message from Veronica. Dinner tomorrow night. Non-negotiable. We need to discuss your recent behavior. She's making her move, Daniel said, reading over my shoulder. Good, Andrea smiled grimly. Let her think she's in control. Meanwhile, I've invited some special guests to the reunion. That nurse she threatened? She's bringing friends. Savannah checked her phone. Mum's already at the venue planning seating arrangements, making sure her loyal supporters are close by. Let her plan, I said, thinking of Grandma's words about truth setting itself free. We've got something better than loyal supporters. We've got proof. Holden stood. I should go. But Sam? He paused at the door. Whatever happens, I'm sorry for not seeing it sooner. After he left, we finalized our strategy. Andrea would handle the technical setup, ensuring the recordings played clearly. Daniel would coordinate with the former victims of Veronica's manipulation. Savannah would keep her mother distracted with venue details. 1 week, I breathed, looking at our battle plans. After 12 years, 1 week until everything changes. Are you scared? Andrea asked. Terrified, I admitted. But you know what scares me more? The thought of Zion growing up thinking Veronica's behavior is normal, that manipulation and control equal love. Then let's end it, Savannah said firmly, once and for all. Looking at our gathered evidence, at the faces of my allies, I felt something shift inside me. Fear giving way to determination, doubt hardening into resolve. 1 week until the reunion. 1 week until Veronica's carefully constructed world came crashing down. Let her come to dinner tomorrow. Let her think she's winning. Her time was almost up, and she didn't even know it. The reunion venue buzzed with activity as caterers rushed around, setting up tables under Veronica's critical eye. I watched from the entrance as she adjusted a flower arrangement, perfectly poised in her designer dress. Everything's ready, Andrea whispered, appearing beside me. Speakers tested, recordings queued up. Daniel's got the video presentation ready to go. Mrs. Johnson, a caterer approached Veronica. Where would you like the champagne tower? By the main table, of course, she snapped. And make sure it's the expensive champagne. We're not savages. Savannah brushed past us, clipboard in hand. Mom's suspicious. She's had 3 people checking for recording devices. Little late for that, Andrea smirked. The first guests began arriving. Distant relatives, business associates, all carefully selected by Veronica to witness what she thought would be her ultimate triumph. She'd spent the week spreading rumors about my mental state, preparing her audience for whatever show she had planned. Samantha, Veronica's voice rang across the room. Darling, you look tired. Is everything all right? Never better. I smiled, watching her eyes narrow at my confidence. Wade appeared, adjusting his tie. Veronica, the judge is here. Wonderful, she beamed. Show him to the main table. I caught Wade's subtle wink as he led the judge away. We'd made sure Judge Harrison knew exactly what was coming. Mom's going to make her move during the toasts, Savannah murmured as she passed. She's got paperwork in her purse, something about emergency custody. My heart raced, but I kept my face neutral. Let her think she had the upper hand. Holden arrived with Zion, both in matching suits. My son ran to hug me while Holden hung back, looking uncomfortable. Quite a turnout, he said, scanning the growing crowd. Your mother always did know how to draw an audience, I replied. The room filled quickly. I recognized faces from Daniel's investigation. The nurse Veronica had threatened, a former business partner she'd blackmailed, all strategically seated where they needed to be. 5 minutes until dinner. Andrea checked her phone. Ready? Before I could answer, Veronica clinked her glass. Everyone, please find your seats. I have a special announcement to make before we eat. The guests moved to their tables. I sat between Andrea and Zion, watching Veronica take her place at the head table. Family, friends, she began, her voice carrying that practiced warmth. We're gathered here not just for a reunion, but to address a serious matter. Here it comes. As many of you know, our family has faced some challenges lately. My beloved daughter-in-law, she paused for effect, has been struggling. The pressure of managing her inheritance, the responsibility. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. I felt Zion's hand slip into mine, which is why, as family matriarch, I've taken steps to protect our interests. Judge Harrison? The judge stood, but instead of the papers Veronica expected, he pulled out a different document. Yes, Mrs. Johnson, I have reviewed all the evidence thoroughly. Veronica's smile faltered slightly. The custody papers will not be necessary, he finished firmly. In fact, given the evidence I've seen of systematic manipulation and coercion. What evidence? Veronica's voice sharpened. What is he talking about? I stood, my heart pounding but my voice steady. Maybe we should show everyone exactly what he's talking about. Daniel dimmed the lights, a screen lowered behind Veronica. "What is this?" she demanded. "Stop this immediately." "Play it," I nodded to Andrea. The first recording filled the room, Veronica threatening me in her study. Then the hospital board recording, then more. Years of threats, manipulation, and cruelty played out before her carefully gathered audience. Veronica lunged for the podium, but Wade caught her arm. "Sit down," he said quietly. "For once in your life, sit down and listen." The colour drained from her face as she watched her own words condemn her, her perfectly orchestrated evening crumbling around her. "You recorded me," she hissed. "This is illegal. I'll sue." "No, you won't," Savannah stood, "because I have more. We all do." One by one, people began to stand, each with their own story, their own evidence of Veronica's manipulation. "Mom?" Holden's voice cracked. "What did you do?" Veronica's eyes darted around the room, finding no allies among the faces she'd so carefully selected. Her hand clutched her chest as she realized she'd gathered her own witnesses to her downfall. The night was just beginning, and already her carefully constructed world was unraveling. As the evidence continued to play, I held Zion close, watching the truth finally break free. "Turn it off!" Veronica's voice cracked through the stunned silence as the last recording faded. "This is nothing but a vindictive attack." "Is it vindictive to tell the truth?" The nurse she'd threatened stood up. "You destroyed my career because I wouldn't transfer that patient according to your wishes." "Margaret, please," Veronica started. "Don't Margaret me. I lost everything because of you. My job, my daughter's scholarship." Others began standing, their voices overlapping. "You blackmailed my husband's company. You threatened my family. You manipulated the hospital board." Veronica grabbed her purse, heading for the door, but Wade blocked her path. "Running away won't fix this." "Fix what?" she snarled. "I protected this family. Everything I did was for us." "No," Savannah stepped forward. "Everything you did was for control. You didn't protect us. You terrorized us." "Holden?" Veronica turned to her son, voice trembling. Tell them how I've only ever wanted what's best." "Like you wanted what was best when you threatened to take my son away," I cut in, my voice carrying across the silent room. "When you tried to steal my inheritance?" "That money should have gone to the family trust," she snapped. "Not some naive girl who doesn't understand." "I understand perfectly." I pulled out Grandma's letter. "My grandmother understood too. Should I read what she wrote about you?" "Don't you dare." "To my dear Samantha," I read loudly. "I leave this inheritance to you directly, knowing that certain individuals will attempt to control it. I've watched how they operate, how they manipulate and threaten. This is your chance at freedom." Holden stepped closer, his face ashen. "Mom, did you really threaten to take Zion?" "I was protecting him." "From what?" Zion's small voice cut through the chaos. He stood beside me, tears in his eyes. "From Mom?" Veronica's carefully maintained facade cracked. "Sweetheart, you don't understand." "I understand," he said quietly. "You're mean. You hurt people." The room fell silent. Veronica's hands shook as she reached for her grandson, but he stepped back, pressing against my side. Judge Harrison cleared his throat. "Mrs. Johnson, given the evidence presented, I'm issuing an immediate restraining order. You are to have no contact with Samantha or Zion pending a full investigation." "You can't do this," she turned to the crowd. "These people are lying. They're all conspiring." "Like you conspired to ruin my wedding," Savannah's voice cracked. "Like you conspired against Dad's business partners. Face it, Mom. Your games are over." "Wade," Veronica pleaded, "do something." "I've done something," he said quietly. "I've finally stopped enabling you." Andrea stepped forward with a thick folder. "We have copies of everything, the recordings, the emails, the witness statements, every threat, Every manipulation, every lie. You'll all regret this. Veronica's voice turned cold. I made this family what it is. Without me. Without you, I cut in. We can finally heal. Holden moved to stand beside me and Zion. Mom, you need help. Professional help. Traitor, she spat. After everything I've done for you. Everything you've done to him, Savannah corrected. To all of us. Security guards appeared at the doors, part of our carefully orchestrated plan. Daniel nodded to them. Mrs. Johnson, one guard stepped forward. Please come with us. Don't touch me. I am Veronica Johnson. Are leaving, Wade finished firmly. Now. As the guards escorted her out, her perfectly crafted world collapsed completely. The gathered crowd watched in stunned silence as the family matriarch, the puppet master, was finally stripped of her power. Dad? Zion tugged at Holden's sleeve. Is Grandma going away? Holden knelt beside our son. For a while, buddy, until she gets the help she needs. The room buzzed with conversation as people began sharing their stories, years of suppressed truth finally breaking free. Andrea hugged me tight while Savannah wiped tears from her eyes. It's really over, she whispered. Not quite, I said, watching Wade gather the evidence folders. There's still legal matters, investigations. But she can't hurt anyone anymore, Daniel added. That's what matters. Judge Harrison approached our group. I'll need formal statements from everyone, but for now, he smiled kindly. Well done. As the adrenaline faded, I felt Holden's hand slip into mine. I'm so sorry, he whispered, for not believing you, for not seeing. We all see now. I squeezed his hand, watching our son chat with his Aunt Savannah. That's what matters. Outside, we could hear Veronica's protests fading as she was led away. Inside, surrounded by truth-tellers and survivors, a different kind of family was forming. One built on honesty instead of fear, support instead of control. The night wasn't over, but the hardest part was done. The truth was out, and there was no putting it back in its box. The morning sun streamed through Grandma's kitchen window as I measured flour into a mixing bowl. Zion sat at the counter, carefully cracking eggs just like she'd taught me years ago. Perfect technique, buddy, I smiled, watching him fish out a tiny piece of shell. The doorbell rang, Savannah and Andrea arriving with boxes of old photo albums. We'd been sorting through family memories, separating truth from Veronica's carefully crafted fiction. Look what we found. Savannah held up a dusty photograph. Mom's first wedding, before she married Dad. The one she claimed never happened? I wiped flour from my hands. The very one. Turns out she has quite a history of rewriting the past. The kitchen filled with the smell of chocolate chip cookies as Holden arrived with Wade, carrying more boxes. The lawyers called? Wade said, setting down his load. Veronica's agreed to therapy as part of the settlement. Real therapy this time, not just for show. Has she said anything about the letters? Andrea asked. I shook my head. We'd discovered dozens of intercepted letters in Veronica's study, correspondence she'd hidden from family members for years, maintaining her web of isolation and control. The hospital board voted yesterday, Daniel called from the doorway, joining our growing gathering. They're reinstating Margaret and reviewing every decision Veronica influenced. Zion looked up from his eggs. Is Grandma still mad at us? Holden pulled up a stool beside his son. Grandma's sick, buddy. Not like a cold, but in a way that made her hurt people. She's getting help now. Can we send her cookies? Zion asked, surprising us all. Maybe someday, I said softly. When she's ready. The oven timer dinged. As I pulled out the first batch of cookies, their warm, sweet scent filled the kitchen, just like it had when Grandma taught me to bake. To stand up for myself, to be brave. The trust papers are finalized, Wade mentioned, accepting a warm cookie. Everything's in your name now, Sam. No conditions, no controls. What about the house? Savannah asked. Sold, Holden answered. Mum's downsizing, doctor's orders, new environment, fresh start. I watched our unlikely family gathered in this kitchen. Wade sharing cookies with his grandchild, Savannah and Andrea sorting photos, Daniel discussing hospital politics with Holden. All the walls Veronica built between us had crumbled. "Sam?" Holden caught my hand. "There's something I need to say." "You don't have to." "I do." He took a deep breath. "I spent my whole life letting Mom control everything because it was easier than fighting. I watched her hurt you, hurt everyone, and said nothing. I can't change that, but I can promise it won't happen again." "Look what I found." Zion held up a photo, me and Grandma baking in this very kitchen. On the back, her familiar handwriting. "Remember, love doesn't control. It sets free." The doorbell rang again. Judge Harrison stood outside with Margaret, the nurse, and several other former victims of Veronica's manipulation. "Hope we're not interrupting," Margaret smiled. "We brought more photos. More stories." "Perfect timing." I gestured to the fresh cookies. "We're just getting started." As everyone settled in, sharing stories and treats, I realized something profound. Veronica had spent years trying to control the narrative, to keep us isolated and dependent. But here we were, building something stronger than her manipulation. Genuine connections, honest relationships, real family. "Mom," Zion tugged my sleeve, "can you teach me Grandma's secret cookie recipe, the real one?" "Of course, baby." I pulled him close, remembering Grandma's words about truth setting us free. "That's what family does. Passes down the real stories, the true legacy." Wade raised his coffee cup. "To new beginnings." "And old recipes," Andrea added. "And the truth," Savannah finished. As laughter and conversation filled the kitchen, I looked at these people. Not bound by Veronica's manipulation anymore, but by choice and love and truth. The inheritance wasn't just money or property, it was this: the freedom to build authentic relationships, to share real stories, to bake cookies with my son without fear of judgment or control. Holden squeezed my hand. "You okay?" "Better than okay," I smiled, watching Zion measure vanilla extract with intense concentration. "We're free." Outside, spring sunshine warmed the garden where Grandma used to tend her roses. Inside, the kitchen filled with the sweet smell of cookies and the sweeter sound of honest laughter. This was the real legacy, not Veronica's carefully constructed facade, but something authentic and imperfect, and true, just like Grandma's slightly misshapen, absolutely perfect chocolate chip cookies.
My name is Nicole and I am a 30-year-old office worker. I have been married to my husband Finn for 3 years and I recently became pregnant. However, my health did not improve at all after the pregnancy, and my mother, who was worried about me, stayed with me for a while to check on me. However, my health showed no sign of improvement, so when I was 8 months pregnant, I decided to return home to my parents' house. To be honest, going back to my parents' home was not something I really wanted to do. My hometown is very rural and quite far from New York, where I live now. And it takes me about an hour just to go to the OB/GYN because I need a car to go to convenience stores and supermarkets in the area. I was a little uncomfortable, thinking that if something were to happen out of the blue, I might not be able to relax. But my husband, Finn, kept asking me, "Why don't you go back to your hometown?" I was a little nervous because my mother has been living in the area for a long time. My husband felt that my mother's constant presence at home was a little bothersome for him. Even though I told him I didn't mind, he said he didn't feel comfortable drinking in front of his wife with his mother-in-law there. He complained that he couldn't relax on the couch when he came home after a long day at work, and that he couldn't watch the TV channels he wanted to watch because he had to be careful. I said, "I don't think your mother would mind, but a little meanly, living with your partner's parents is a bit stressful, isn't it?" And told him I would not live with your mother. For me, I wanted to live in this situation until the birth of my child, but I almost had an imminent miscarriage at one point, and I had no choice but to return to my parents' house. The baby was delivered safely, but my health did not return to normal, and I did not return home until 4 months after returning to my hometown. Home after a long absence. I feel relaxed, after all. I sat on the sofa. Oh, yes, it's so comfortable. And the familiar kitchen. The cooking utensils are arranged to my specifications, so I can move around smoothly. I thought again that this house is much easier for me to live in than my parents' house. The child starts to cry, so I quickly feed her some milk to calm her down. Now, after putting her to bed, I have to organize her clothes and do some other things. Come to think of it, the house is pretty clean even though I've been out of the house for 4 months. I was a little worried that the house might be a mess after he came home, since he had hardly done any housework since we got married. But he seemed to take out the trash every time and cleaned up well. I thought to myself, if she can do it, she can do it. At the same time, I thought of having my husband do the housework since I would be busy raising our child. While I was thinking about this, the kids went to bed and I went to my room to put away my belongings. And the moment I opened the closet, I felt something strange. Didn't I have so few bags? I looked all over the closet, but obviously there were far fewer bags than I had. What happened? And what's more, the ones that are missing are only luxury brand items or limited editions. To my surprise, a bag totaling about 2 million was missing. I searched all over the house in a panic, but could not find it anywhere. I called my husband several times to see if he knew anything about it, but he couldn't get through. I was panicking and wondering what was going on when I received a call from my mother. "Did you get home safely?" "Mom, my bags are missing." "What? Did you leave it on the train?" No, my bags are missing from my room. And they're very expensive ones." "What? Are you sure you're not a thief?" "Well, I thought so from my mother's advice and decided to call the police." The police then arrived and I explained the situation. The police were searching all over the house, taking fingerprints left in closets and other places. Just as I was talking with the police about various things, my husband came home. "What? What's going on? What are the police doing in my house?" "Oh, Finn, good timing. A lot of my bags were missing. I thought it was probably a burglar, so I called the police." My husband opened his eyes widely and he became angry. "Why did you call the police without my permission? I tried to call you thousands of times, but you didn't answer." My husband looked uncomfortable for a moment, then approached the police and said, "Excuse me, it's our house, we'll take care of it, so please leave us alone." "What? What are you talking about? A total of about 2 million were stolen. This is totally criminal." I said to the police officers, "Sorry, please continue the investigation as well." The police said, "Okay," and pulled away. "Why did you say that?" I entered the house and questioned my husband. He said, "I don't want the police to come to my house and neighbors spread rumors about this, don't you?" "What? I don't know what you mean. We didn't do anything wrong. What do you care about the old bags like that? It won't bring much money anyway." "Oh, come on, I wonder why women are so obsessed with things." "What are you talking about?" I saved up my wages little by little and finally got a lot of bags. I've been taking good care of them for years, and I'm attached to them. It's not something I can just give away so easily. You wouldn't be so calm if your expensive golf clubs were stolen, wouldn't you? Just like that. Then I realized with a start. I always keep his golf clubs in front of the door where he can easily pick them up. This is because my husband often goes golfing for entertainment. If there really was a burglar, wouldn't he steal the golf clubs, too? Besides, in the living room I keep my rings and accessories on the shelves. How come those things were not stolen and only the bag? When I think about it, a lot of things are fishy. No other rooms were ransacked at all. It seems as if they were targeting that closet from the very beginning. I thought to myself, hey, maybe it wasn't a burglar, and you're the culprit. What? Because it doesn't make sense. How could the house not be ransacked and only the bag in my closet be stolen? I looked at my husband and suddenly a fist flew in front of me. The fist hit me clean in the mouth and I bled from my lip. What? Oh, no. It's your fault. Because you call me like I'm a criminal. What, are you hiding something by hitting me? No, of course not. Well, maybe I should call the police again for assault. I'll call the police again for assault. I'm sorry. I won't hit you again. I'll never hit you again. He said to me looking into my eyes. That's enough, I'm going to bed with the kids. I was so angry that I was going crazy with rage, so I decided to leave the place and calm down a little. Let's wait for the call from the police. Only after that can everything else begin. A few days later, I got a call from the police. They said that the same fingerprints were found not only in the closet, but also on the sheets and pillows on the bed, and everywhere else, including mugs, the dining table, and the chair. Also, we canvassed the neighborhood and got a tip that a strange woman had been in and out of the house. What? So it's unthinkable that this is just theft. Your husband may know something about the situation. Thank you. This all made sense. In other words, my husband had brought a woman into the house while I was back home. When my husband came home from work that day, I questioned him. I got a call from the police that a woman I don't know was in and out of the house. He said, "What do you mean? I don't know anything about that." Maybe that guy was the burglar. A female burglar is rare, but it's possible in this day and age, yes. Well, let's have the police investigate and check the security cameras on the streets around here. What? Then we can pick out the suspicious person, check for fingerprints, and get to the culprit. Then we can have the police arrest her and everything will be fine. Ah. What? Is it a problem for you if they identify the woman who was in the house? No, no. Well, I'll just call the police and tell them. Wait. What? I'm sorry, I'll tell you everything, please don't call the police. With that, my husband awkwardly began to tell me what had happened. My husband had started such a relationship with a junior employee of his company after I went back to my hometown. When I told him I was going home for a drink at work, the adulteress said she wanted to come over to our house. So you simply invited her home? Because, you weren't with me the whole time you were pregnant, and you haven't been back home for 4 months. I just needed to have other people around. So why are my bags missing? Well, she wanted it. Every time I saw her, I gave her a bag, and then I realized I had quite a few. That's impossible, you suck. I'm sorry. Call her right now. What? If you don't call me, I'll sue her for theft. Okay. After about an hour, the adulteress came to me. She said, "What on earth are you doing? You called me out of the blue. You give me back my bag." What? Those were gifts from Finn to me. It's mine. Finn has no right to give it to anyone. I don't know anything about that. I'm innocent. Okay, I'll turn you into the police. Wait a minute. Did you hear what I said? I told you I didn't steal anything. But you said you wanted to go through my closet and pick out anything you think is valuable, right? Your fingerprints are all over it. You can't get away with this. Oh, no. Okay, I'll give it back. I'll give it back, just don't turn me into the police. We ended the discussion that day by agreeing that the adulteress would return the bag to me. However, later that day, the number of bags the adulteress brought was clearly less than the number I had. She said, "What do you mean? There must have been more." Well, that's. To my surprise, she had already sold half of them on an internet auction. That's impossible, you'll have to compensate me for the damage you've caused. Oh, no. Shall we go to the police then? Ugh. That's enough. Don't make her suffer. Nicole. I'm sick of you. I'm breaking up with you. I'm going to be with her. Finn. I want to be with you, Finn. What a farce. Ah, I see. Do as you please. But I'll have you pay me alimony. Of course I will. I'll pay you for the bag I sold. So don't get involved with me anymore. Why should I be treated like the one causing trouble? I thought it was stupid, but I wanted to do everything I could to defeat her, so I hired a good lawyer and proceeded with my preparations. At the same time, I also hired a credit agency to do a background check on the adulteress. Then I found out something interesting. To my surprise, she had been dating other guys. Based on the various weapons I had at my disposal, I filed a claim for alimony and child support with my ex-husband. "Here's the alimony you have to pay," the lawyer said. What? 18 million. I'm going to ask you to pay child support in one lump sum, of course. Oh, no. That's a lot of money, don't you think? Oh, I'm also adding alimony for the time you beat me up. You know. If he doesn't pay, I'll file a damage report with the police and send a content-certified letter to the company. Please don't do that. That's right, when you work for a big company, image is everything. Oh, and one more thing, that tramp you're remarrying, she's got another guy. What? Also, they're all married, and their wives are suing your wife for alimony. If you include mine, I'm guessing it's about 15 million. Oh, no. She has another man. That's the one, isn't it about money? I left the coffee shop with my ex-husband, who was drooping in shock, by my side, while I stared at him in my mind. After that, he paid me alimony and I got a large sum of money. By the way, it is my groundwork that the adulterous woman is demanding alimony from her wives. I sent the results of the investigation commissioned by the agency to the homes of the men who were having relations with the adulterous woman. I heard that the ex-husband and the adulteress are currently in debt and forced to live a poor life. Because of this situation, they have to endure the cold shoulder from their workplaces about the affair and continue to work so they look older and older due to stress. She says that her ex-husband's company takes his image very seriously, so she can no longer expect him to rise in the ranks. I really feel like it serves them right. Meanwhile, I have returned to work after maternity leave and am working hard as a single mother. I have child support paid and have a decent income, so I don't have to worry about money. I am happy to see my child growing up every day. I was taking a breather in the hospital cafeteria when I glanced out the window. The February sky over suburban Chicago was leaden, and snow had begun to fall. Taking a sip of coffee, I felt the warm liquid gradually warming my chilled body. I held my Starbucks cup, enjoying this brief respite before my next patient consultation. Being a child psychologist at a children's hospital was more mentally and physically draining than I had imagined. But for me, it was an irreplaceable calling. I, Rachel Morrison, believe that healing children's emotional wounds is my mission. Rachel. When I turned around, I saw a message from my husband, David, on my phone. Looks like I can leave early today. I'll stop by to check on Lily before heading home. We first met at this hospital's construction site, where he was working as the construction company's site supervisor. When I went to complain about the construction noise, he greeted me with surprisingly sincere attention. Our conversation naturally led to dinner, and a year later, we were married. David, with his sturdy build and warm smile, drew me in with his sincerity and dedication to family. Even after marriage, that impression never changed. Especially since the birth of our 7-month-old daughter Lily, his face as a father has taken on an even brighter glow. He eagerly helps with middle-of-the-night feedings, and always makes time for family on weekends. Although Lily has been crying more at night recently due to teething, his patience never runs out. Our house is in Winnetka, an upscale residential area. It's a colonial-style home built in the 1920s, characterized by white exterior walls and deep green shutters. In the spacious yard, an old maple tree changes its appearance with each season. One of the reasons we chose this house was that it was only a 15-minute drive from David's mother Helen's house. A former elementary school teacher, she remains active in community volunteer work even after retirement. With her proper appearance and constant gentle smile, she seemed like the ideal mother-in-law straight out of a textbook. After Lily's birth, Helen's presence became even more significant for us. Saying, young couples need their own time too, she often looks after Lily. She eagerly helps with daycare pickup and drop-off, and sometimes even prepares dinner when I'm working late. But sometimes, I sense something odd. Like the excessively meticulous way she folds Lily's clothes, perfectly squaring each piece. Or her reaction to Lily's crying, where a normal grandmother would instinctively pick up the baby, she first shows a somewhat rigid expression, thinking, I must stop the crying. Still, I try to dismiss these slight feelings of unease. After all, Helen was an indispensable part of our family. Today had been hectic from the morning. As usual, I woke Lily at 7 a.m. and gave her milk. While David hurriedly prepared breakfast bagels, I changed Lily. After dropping her at daycare, I drove to the hospital. I stopped by Whole Foods Market to buy dinner ingredients before finally arriving at the hospital. After important patient consultations from first thing in the morning, I could finally catch my breath. Outside the window, the snow was falling more heavily. A message arrived from the daycare on my smartphone. They would be closed tomorrow for staff training. I sighed at the sudden notice. I had an important patient consultation tomorrow. Usually, I could handle it with remote work, but this patient's case required face-to-face consultation. Just then, a message arrived from Helen. Shall I look after Lily tomorrow? Leave it to me. Looking at the screen, I pondered for a moment. Helen was certainly reliable. But why was that small feeling of unease crossing my mind now? Outside, the snow was falling more heavily. In the end, I decided to accept Helen's offer. After checking the patient's situation in the morning meeting, I felt again that face-to-face consultation was essential. A 10-year-old girl with trauma from abuse. I couldn't let our trust relationship break now that she was finally beginning to open up. Especially recently, she had started talking little by little about her past. I couldn't interrupt that slight progress. Thank you, Mother, I said over the phone, and Helen responded in a happy voice. You're welcome. I'm looking forward to it too. Time with Lily is my greatest joy. Her voice had its usual warmth. Yet why did this vague anxiety remain in my chest? Late at night, I tried to talk to David about it, but couldn't put it into words. After all, I couldn't even explain to myself why I felt uneasy. The next morning, I headed to Helen's house with Lily. Chicago's sky was still gray, and snow from yesterday had accumulated on the ground. The SUV's tires slowly moved along the frozen road. While driving, I checked on Lily in the rearview mirror. My daughter's expression as she slept in her car seat was filled with the most peaceful contentment in the world. Helen's house was a single-family home notable for its well-maintained garden. Potted seasonal flowers were arranged neatly at the entrance. The spacing between each pot was as uniform as if measured with a ruler. The window curtains draped in perfectly even intervals. That perfection felt somehow unnatural. Good morning, Rachel. When the door opened, Helen greeted me with her usual gentle smile. She wore a gray cashmere sweater with black slacks. A pearl necklace at her throat gave off a subtle gleam. Her appearance was perfect, as if she had stepped out of a fashion magazine. Good morning, Lily. When Helen reached for Lily, she hesitated slightly before timidly extending her arms. Though Lily was usually shy with people, she had spent time with Helen many times before. Still, something seemed different today. Helen's eyes, usually bright when looking at her smiling granddaughter, seemed somehow vacant. It's cold today, isn't it? Come on in. Inside the entrance, it was warm, with a lemon air freshener scent wafting through the air. The scent was so strong it reminded me of hospital disinfectant. In the living room, toys were already arranged in perfect order. Helen proudly explained that they had all been disinfected. The toy arrangement was as perfect as a store window display. Don't worry, Rachel. I'll take care of everything. As I set down my bags, I looked around the room. Everything everywhere was perfectly organized. Books on the shelves were arranged by height, cushions were placed at consistent angles, and not a speck of dust could be found on the floor. Even the family photos on the wall were hung at perfectly level angles, as if measured with a spirit level. Just then, I heard the washing machine sound from the basement. It was an irregular sound, different from the normal wash cycle. "Oh, I forgot about the laundry." Helen stood up. Her movement seemed somewhat hurried. The trembling in her hands didn't escape my notice. "Are you all right? Should I get it?" "No, don't worry about it. Don't you have to get to work?" There seemed to be a hint of panic in those words. She was right, though. Looking at the clock, my departure time was approaching. I had less than an hour until my next patient appointment. I kissed Lily and said, "Be a good girl." Helen was already heading toward the basement stairs. Watching her back, my sense of unease grew. Her footsteps echoing down the stairs seemed faster than usual. As I started the car, Helen's house reflected in my rearview mirror looked somehow eerie. The perfectly maintained garden and meticulously kept exterior. But within that perfection, I sensed something bordering on madness. On the way to the hospital, anxious thoughts kept multiplying in my mind. I needed to prepare for patient consultations, but couldn't concentrate. At every red light, I felt compelled to check the security cameras. In the early afternoon, I finally checked the house security cameras through my phone app. Lily wasn't visible in the living room. Not in the kitchen either. Maybe it was diaper change or nap time. But something was wrong. The toys remained in exactly the same positions as the morning. And the washing machine sound from the basement. It had been running continuously since morning. An impossibly long time for a normal wash cycle. "Excuse me, I need to check something." Between patient consultations, I hastily called Helen. The phone kept ringing. No answer. I tried again 2, 3, 4 times, but no one picked up. I checked the security cameras again. When I turned on the audio, the washing machine sound from the basement seemed louder than usual. And within it, faintly, a baby's cry. No, that might be my imagination. But what if? My spine froze. I immediately informed my supervisor of the emergency and rushed to Helen's house. While observing traffic rules, I drove as fast as possible. When traffic lights were about to turn red, I pressed the accelerator with a prayer-like feeling. Upon arrival, the entrance was locked, but I had a spare key. My hands shook so much I fumbled with inserting the key. Opening the door, I called out, "Mother," but there was no response. My footsteps down to the basement echoed as loudly as my heartbeat. With each step down the stairs, the washing machine sound grew louder. When I opened the laundry room door, Helen was standing there. In front of the latest model washing machine, wearing a peaceful smile. Her expression even showed a hint of bliss. "See? It's quiet now, isn't it?" Those words made my whole body tremble. Fearfully approaching the washing machine, I opened the door. There. Lily was spinning in the drum. Her small body being tumbled around with the laundry. The sight seemed otherworldly. It took several seconds to comprehend the scene before me. Time seemed to stop. my beloved daughter spinning in the washing machine drum. Her small body thrown about carelessly with clothes and fabric. The horror of that moment was beyond words. Then in the next instant, my counselor training automatically took over. Lily. I immediately cut the power to the washing machine and opened the door. I pulled out the soaking wet Lily. The strong smell of detergent stung my nose. Her clothes were completely wet, her body cold. But thankfully, some warmth remained. I quickly checked her breathing and confirmed her airway was clear. Though conscious, she was limp. Her pupils responded normally. Her skin was cold and bluish, but peripheral circulation was maintained. 911. Quick, ambulance. Baby emergency. My scream echoed through the room. Then I heard Helen's voice. But she stopped crying, didn't she? She's clean now. When I turned around, my mother-in-law spoke to me with a calm expression, as if having an everyday conversation. That abnormal serenity sent chills down my spine. Her eyes seemed to be looking somewhere far away. Babies are always crying. They're dirty. When you wash them, they become clean and quiet. My son was the same way. Those words nearly stopped my heart. As a medical professional, I immediately understood Helen's condition. Clear symptoms of mental illness. In a dissociative state with severely impaired reality testing. But now wasn't the time for that. Lily's life was in danger. The ambulance siren approached. While wrapping Lily in a blanket, I tried to prevent her body temperature from dropping further. The baby's skin was pale, her lips purplish. Her whole body was shaking. But faintly, I could hear her crying. That sound felt like the most beautiful music in the world. Mama's here. It's okay. You're safe now. I stroked Lily's cheek with trembling hands. My professional composure and maternal emotions violently conflicted. While checking her heartbeat, I prayed for my daughter's recovery. The few minutes until the paramedics arrived felt like an eternity. Chicago paramedics usually arrive within 5 minutes, but that time felt unbearably long. During that time, I kept rubbing Lily's body, desperately trying to maintain her body temperature. The paramedics arrived and quickly assessed the situation. As a healthcare worker, I explained the situation concisely. Submersion time, body temperature, consciousness state, medical history. While choosing my words carefully to provide accurate information, I kept holding Lily's hand. The feeling of her tiny fingers gripping back gave me a glimmer of hope. In the ambulance, I continued rubbing Lily's body. Can you hear Mama's voice? I'm right here, Lily. While the paramedics continued treatment, I kept praying for my daughter's recovery. The heart monitor's beeping merged with my own heartbeat. Then my cell phone rang. It was David. He must have received a call from the hospital. Rachel. What happened? Is Lily okay? His voice was clearly shaken, almost panicked. After I briefly explained the situation, he promised to meet us at the hospital. There was something heartbreaking in his voice. When the ambulance arrived at the hospital, the pediatric emergency team was already waiting. These were my colleagues. Though I usually handle emergencies calmly, this was different. Watching my own daughter receive emergency treatment was harder than I could have imagined. The staff's serious expressions told the gravity of the situation. "Rachel, this time you need to wait as family." I could only nod at Chief Dr. Sarah's words. Usually we joke around as colleagues, but now she wore a completely professional expression. As the examination room door closed, I lost sight of Lily's small hand. That image squeezed my heart. In the waiting room, I first felt my whole body trembling. My medical professional rationality faded as maternal emotions flooded out. In this place where I had so often encouraged patients' families, I was now one of the trembling family members. And then I faced another reality. The police arrived and began taking statements. They said a formal investigation would be necessary due to the likely criminal nature of the incident. While trying to explain the situation calmly, my words kept breaking. That's when David rushed in. "Rachel. How's Lily?" His face was pale, his usual calm expression gone. We embraced each other. In his arms, I finally let my tears flow. All the tension suddenly released. "Helen." David's expression hardened. The sweat on his forehead betrayed his agitation. "Mother has always." His words trailed off, but their meaning was clear. There was some hidden fact. A family secret that no one could speak of for years. Just then, the examination room door opened. Sarah came out with a tired expression. "Miraculously, there's no major damage. She'll need 24 hours of observation, but Lily should recover. She's conscious and clear, and her vitals are stabilizing." Tears of relief flowed. But at the same time, I knew this wasn't the end. Down the hall, police officers were talking with Helen. She still maintained her calm expression, behaving as if nothing was wrong. Her occasional words highlighted her abnormality. "Everything must be clean. All dirty things must be cleaned." David squeezed my hand tightly. I could feel it trembling. "There's something I need to talk about. About Mother, and about my childhood." His voice carried the resolve to speak about something sealed away for years. There was an indescribable weight to it. After Lily fell asleep in the intensive care unit, David and I sat on a bench in the hospital hallway. As the clock hands pointed to midnight, under the cold fluorescent lights, he slowly began to reveal memories he had sealed away for years. His voice carried a weight I had never heard before. As a child, Mother demanded perfection. David's voice was hoarse. He clutched a paper hospital cup in his hands. The coffee had long since gone cold. The house always had to be perfectly organized. Clothes had to be folded in a specific way, books arranged by height, dishes stored in particular orientations. But that was just the surface. Mother had deeper compulsions. Washing hands multiple times a day, wiping doorknobs, cleaning floors. These rituals became more complex as the years went by. He sighed deeply and continued. The words came out as if he were unburdening himself of years of weight. "When I was 5, Mother put me in the washing machine. She said, 'You're dirty, you need to be cleaned.' It was after I came home from playing outside." Mother's eyes were different than usual. As if she couldn't see me. I caught my breath at those words. David's hands were trembling. I gripped them tightly. Dad came home early from work and noticed. He got me out right away. After that, Mother started receiving treatment. She was diagnosed with obsessive-compulsive disorder. But she never fully recovered. On the surface, she could lead a normal life, but deep down, those compulsions never disappeared. Dad watched over her condition until he passed away. The next morning, Dr. Carol Watson, a psychiatrist at Northwestern Memorial Hospital, explained Helen's diagnosis in detail. In addition to severe obsessive-compulsive disorder, she showed marked impairment in reality testing. Symptoms that had been suppressed for years had likely resurfaced due to recent stress, particularly the responsibility of caring for her grandchild. Obsessive-compulsive disorder can be controlled with appropriate treatment. Many patients show improvement with a combination of cognitive behavioral therapy and medication. Dr. Carroll spoke gently to us between her professional explanations. In Helen's case, her obsession with cleanliness was particularly strong and manifested in an extreme way. However, this wasn't an intentional attempt to cause harm. In her mind, it was an expression of love. Tears welled up in David's eyes at those words. His shoulders trembled slightly. Mother truly loved Lily deeply. That's why she tried to make her perfect. But that form of love had become terribly distorted. I held my husband's hand tightly. I could feel his complex emotions toward his mother, anger and love, fear and sympathy, all intertwined. Lily's recovery progressed well. After 72 hours, she moved to a regular room and was smiling in our arms. That smile was like an angel's. The pediatrician told us there was fortunately no concern about lasting effects. Meanwhile, Helen was transferred to Maplewood Recovery Center, a specialized treatment facility in suburban Chicago. This incident had convinced her to finally accept serious treatment. She began 3 weekly therapy sessions and daily group sessions. Rachel, I'm sorry. I'm so very sorry. When we visited, Helen apologized through tears. In her white dress, she looked different from her previously perfect appearance. Her expression showed emotional fluctuations I had never seen before. I tried to make her clean, but that was wrong. My mind wasn't right. But I won't run away anymore. I want to face this properly. I took her hand. Both as a medical professional and as family, I was determined to be part of this recovery process. I could surely use my experience as a psychological counselor to help my family now. We'll get through this together. One step at a time, no rushing. Helen nodded quietly at those words. It was the first time I had seen such an honest expression from her. The treatment would be long-term. But we were prepared to support each other as a family. David also began receiving professional counseling to address the trauma he had carried for years. There were times when I resented Mother. Sometimes the anger and fear felt crushing. But now, what makes me sad is that none of us could really ask for help back then. Even Dad, in trying to protect Mother, couldn't consult with anyone. His words carried deep insight. 3 months later, we were living a new normal. Lily was growing healthily, showing the same smiles as before. She was fully energetic at daycare too. Helen was walking the path to recovery while receiving regular treatment. She said she was sharing experiences with others facing similar challenges in the facility's group sessions and learning new coping methods. While her compulsive behaviors might never completely disappear, she was learning ways to control them, one step at a time. David and I often took Lily to nearby Willow Park on weekends. We were exploring new ways of being a family while applying what we had learned in therapy. Sometimes we would chat with neighbors, gradually deepening our connections with the community. We don't have to seek perfection anymore, David murmured one evening. Sitting on a park bench, watching Lily play on the equipment, we spend peaceful moments together. Sometimes things are messy, sometimes disorganized. But now we understand that's the natural way of things. Perfect families don't exist. But if we have the desire to understand and support each other, we can overcome any difficulty. That's what we learned through this experience. Lily runs toward us with arms wide open. In the evening light, her figure was hope itself. Our new story begins here. In the residential streets of Newton, maple trees shimmer in the morning sun. Victorian-style white houses quietly awaken to the day. In my front yard, the dew-covered lawn reflects soft light. Mom, make pancakes today. Noah's voice rings out behind me as I check my emails in the kitchen. When I turn around, I see his smile, my absolute favorite sight. My 7-year-old son, still in his pajamas, rests his elbows on the kitchen counter, his messy black hair tousled from sleep. Of course, honey. But brush your teeth first. Okay. As I listen to his footsteps thundering up the stairs, I hurriedly return my attention to my smartphone screen. I have an important client meeting at 9 a.m. in the Prudential Tower, a $30 million penthouse deal. I can't afford to lose this opportunity if I want to maintain my position as top sales agent at premium real estate. While taking out the pancake mix from the King Arthur flour bag, I instinctively touch my neck. There it is, my pearl necklace. The precious gift Michael gave me on our wedding anniversary. Michael. Looking out the window, that rainy night from 2 years ago comes rushing back as if it were yesterday. He was heading back to the hospital for an emergency after finishing his pediatric night shift when the accident happened. His last words, "I'll be right back," still pierce my heart. I glance at our wedding photo displayed on the living room shelf. Michael showed his brightest smile that day at Trinity Church. From the day we first met at a luxury apartment showing, our love deepened rapidly. I was instantly captivated by his kind eyes. His dedication as a pediatrician drew me in deeply. We married a year later, and Noah, conceived during our blissful newlywed life, was the crystallization of our love. Mom, I finished brushing my teeth. Noah's voice cuts through my memories once again. I quickly check the clock, it's already 7:15. So, shall we do blueberry pancakes today? Or chocolate chip? Both. Watching Noah answer with a smile warms my heart. Every time I see Michael's features in him, I'm reminded that I must stay strong. As a single mother and top sales agent, I don't have time for self-pity. While making pancakes, I check my emails again. Since COVID, premium real estate has increased remote work, and home-based client meetings have become common. While convenient, it means handling billion-dollar transaction information from home, requiring extra security precautions. Noah, eat quickly, sweetie. Mommy has an important appointment today. Okay. Mom, you're wearing that pearl necklace again today. My son's innocent comment makes me smile. Though he probably doesn't remember much about his father, somehow he seems to sense that this necklace is special. Yes, I wear it every day, don't I? It's pretty. Looking at my son's pure eyes, I want to hug him tightly. But now it's just our busy morning routine. Noah happily puffs his cheeks as he faces his pancakes drowning in syrup. The morning sunlight streaming through the kitchen window reflects off the coffee cup on the counter, creating a tiny rainbow. These ordinary morning scenes heal my heart more than words can express. We have 30 minutes until the Newton Elementary School bus arrives. In the midst of our hurried morning preparations, I switch back to work mode. Premium Real Estate now handles over $1 billion in transactions annually. Maintaining my position as top sales agent is necessary for Noah's future. As a single mother, it's both my mission and my pride. Mom, after school today, Andrew's going to teach me how to use the new robot. I nod gently at Noah's words. Indeed, my colleague Andrew has always been kind to my son. Lately, he's been especially helpful, inviting us to weekend barbecues and such. But now isn't the time to think about that. While reviewing materials for today's meeting, I make a silent vow. No matter how difficult things get, I will protect this life. That's my promise to Michael, watching over us from heaven, and to our beloved son. On a weekend afternoon, a pleasant autumn breeze sweeps through Newton's residential streets. The maple leaves in the front yard have begun to show hints of color. Today is Noah's 7th birthday party. Ashley, let me handle the decorations here. As I prepare for the party in the living room, Andrew takes the initiative to help. Well respected at Premium Real Estate, he's always a reliable colleague. Especially since I lost my husband, he's often provided subtle support. Thanks, Andrew. But you shouldn't spend your day off like this. Don't worry about it. I'm happy to help celebrate a wonderful kid like Noah's birthday. Nodding at his words, I take out the party plates from the china cabinet. The floral pattern on the white porcelain gleams in the afternoon sun. Beside me, Andrew carefully spreads the tablecloth. Mom, friends are here. Noah's excited voice rings out from the entrance. Through the open door, my colleagues start filing in, each carrying presents wrapped in colorful paper. Happy birthday, Noah. My colleagues' voices overlap as the living room suddenly becomes lively. Sarah, James, Rebecca, all close colleagues from work. Their children have come too, and the house fills with children's laughter. All right, let's have some cake. When I bring out the whole cake, the children cheer. The special birthday cake ordered from Whole Foods Market features a space design, Noah's favorite. The flames of 7 candles flicker gently. Make a wish, honey. At my words, Noah nods and closes his eyes, concentrating hard on his wish. His expression is just like Michael's. As I feel my chest tighten with emotion, I touch my pearl necklace. Time for presents. Andrew holds out a large box. We all picked this together, he says with what seems like a proud expression. Wow! The latest AI robot. Noah's eyes sparkle as he opens the box. Indeed, it's the latest AI robot everyone's talking about, a high-performance toy that supports children's learning. It's somewhat beyond my salary range, but my colleagues must have pitched in together. This is the really expensive one, isn't it? Thank you so much. We all discussed it and chose it for Noah. Andrew speaks, and other colleagues nod in agreement. Their kindness is truly reassuring for a single mother like me. The party continues until evening, wrapped in warm atmosphere. After my colleagues help clean up and leave, Noah immediately starts playing with his new robot. "Mom, this robot is super smart." My son's innocent voice brings a genuine smile to my face. His absorption in the new toy reflects the timeless purity of children. The next few weeks passed peacefully. Mornings began with making Noah's breakfast, followed by work at the Prudential Tower, and evenings with Noah's reading time. On weekends, we'd walk in Boston Common or have treats at Dunkin' Donuts. However, with post-COVID work reforms, home-based client meetings increased. High-end property clients especially tend to value privacy. As a result, online meetings at home and late-night international conference calls became common. "Noah, Mommy has an important phone call now. Can you play quietly in your room?" "Sure. I'll play with my new robot." Reassured by my son's response, I head to the study. Tonight is an important negotiation with a Hong Kong investor, a $50 million condominium development deal. "Hello, Mr. Wong. Thank you for..." The conference call begins. Outside the window, the autumn night wind blows quietly. The shadows of maple leaves sway faintly on the study wall. A peaceful everyday scene. However, in that quietness, we hadn't yet noticed. A small anomaly that would soon change everything was steadily creeping closer. Late that night, after finishing the Hong Kong conference call, I dragged my tired body up the stairs. The clock had already passed 11 p.m. Peering into Noah's room, I saw a pale LED light flickering in the darkness. Moonlight quietly streamed through the room's window. "Noah, are you still awake?" "Mom." My son, who should have been asleep by now, sat curled up on his bed. Holding the new AI robot on his lap, he wore an anxious expression. His figure looked somehow smaller than usual, different from his typically energetic self. "What's wrong?" "This toy, it's making weird sounds." I sit down beside my son. The room's atmosphere feels somehow heavy. The Star Wars poster on the wall casts an eerie shadow in the moonlight. "What kind of sounds?" "Like clicking." Noah frowns. "I wonder if it's broken." "It's been bothering me since yesterday." In that instant, a chill ran down my spine. As someone who handles luxury real estate, I have sufficient knowledge about security. I've learned about security systems and anti-bugging measures while handling numerous high-end properties. Could it be? "Let Mommy take a look." I receive the robot with trembling hands. Indeed, there's a faint but regular sound. A sound not mentioned in the product manual. Carefully checking the robot's back, I find an openable panel. There's a barely noticeable scratch mark on the panel's edge. "Noah, Mommy's going to check this in her room. I'll be right back." While giving my son a gentle smile, I desperately try to control the tremor in my voice. Though I try to walk naturally, my inner turmoil is intense. Back in the study, I begin examining the robot carefully under the desk light. As I slowly open the panel under the light illuminating my workspace, memories of Michael suddenly flash through my mind. What would he do in this situation? My husband, always capable of calm and precise judgment. My fingers touching the pearl necklace tremble slightly. The moment I opened the panel, the blood drained from my face. There, clearly not part of the product, was a small device. From my experience, its nature was immediately apparent, a high-performance listening device. Moreover, it was professional grade. From the small black box, thin wiring had been skillfully integrated into the product's interior. My mind goes blank. For these past weeks, this robot has been constantly in Noah's room. And I've conducted all important negotiations, confidential phone conferences, all near this room. The increased home-based meetings, late-night international calls. All conversations might have been overheard by someone. My fingertips turn ice cold. The hand touching my pearl necklace trembles violently. Who? Why? Amidst the swirling questions, my son's smile suddenly crosses my mind. I must protect him. That's my most important mission now. With trembling fingers, I dial the emergency police number. The dial tone rings unusually loud in the silence. 911, what's your emergency? I need police. I take a deep breath to steady my voice. I found a listening device in my child's toy. I'm with premium real estate. The moment I spoke those words, reality came crashing in. The gravity of naming the company. The scale of the investigation that would likely follow. Everything swirls in my head. 15 minutes later, sirens echo through the quiet residential area. Red and blue lights eerily illuminate the maple trees in the front yard. Following the uniformed officers, plainclothes detectives arrive. Newton police investigators immediately begin processing the scene. Mrs. Cooper, when and where did you obtain this robot? At my son's birthday party, as a present from colleagues. As I continued speaking, I froze. My colleagues. They said they all chose it together. With Andrew taking the lead. Looking back, his kind attitude, subtle considerations. Was it all calculated? Could you provide the company name and the names of those involved? Premium Real Estate. A first-class firm handling luxury properties. One of Boston's most trusted real estate companies. And through this listening device, confidential information had. The police moved swiftly. Despite the late hour, a search warrant for the company was issued. Given the possibility of information leakage, it would be treated as a corporate crime. The investigators efficiently collected evidence and took photographs. Noah, let's sleep in Mommy's room tonight. Holding my son close, I desperately fight back tears. As sounds of police searching the house and gathering evidence echo, the full moon shines quietly outside the window. I feel my trust in former colleagues fading like moonlight. Life will change dramatically from tomorrow. My position at the company, relationships, everything will be different. But to protect my son sleeping in my arms, I must be strong. I feel strength gradually returning to the hand clutching my pearl necklace. It was Michael's final gift to me. Perhaps it's a small light of hope to help us overcome this ordeal. A week after the incident, I sat in the Newton police interrogation room, staring at a stack of photographs with trembling hands. They documented my daily life in detail. Taking Noah to and from school. Shopping at Whole Foods Market. Attending service at St. Mary's Church. Buying coffee at Dunkin' Donuts. All secretly photographed by Andrew. Mrs. Cooper, all these photos were discovered at the suspect's residence. The detective's voice seems to echo from far away. More shocking evidence was spread across the table. A black notebook recording my movements. Detailed records of conversations obtained through wiretapping. Email history with competing firms. This is the record from when the suspect first saw you. The diary the detective presented was dated 3 years ago. Met her today at my new workplace. It felt like destiny. Glad I transferred to premium real estate. Her smile has a warmth that melts the coldness of this industry. Someday, surely. The subsequent pages obsessively recorded my daily life. Names of visitors, transaction details, my coffee preferences, even titles of books I read during breaks. When I found the entry from the day of Michael's accident, I froze. Heaven is on my side. Now I can have her all to myself. Only I, who understands her better than anyone, can heal her. I can make her happy. Though the content is nauseating. The detective continues apologetically. It seems the suspect viewed your husband's accident as fortunate. My fingers grip my pearl necklace tightly. The facts revealed during the investigation far exceeded imagination. After graduating from a prestigious university with excellent grades, Andrew had risen as a sharp salesman in the real estate industry. However, behind his perfect exterior lurked a twisted obsession. The suspect had caused similar issues at his previous workplace. The detective spreads out documents. However, it was handled internally and never surfaced. A secret room filled with my photos was discovered at Andrew's home. Daily fragments plastered across entire walls. On the desk, numerous notebooks recording my activities. Even social media posts and interactions with friends were meticulously documented. Regarding the listening device, an even more cunning method came to light. The suspect contacted a former toy manufacturer technician and had the listening device custom-made, the detective explains. Then, a few days before the birthday party, he broke into your home at night and switched the robot he had purchased as a gift with the modified one. Learning this truth sent chills down my spine. Come to think of it, the front door lock had felt a bit stiff that day. Was that his doing too? The most shocking revelation was evidence that he had been selling information obtained through wiretapping to competing firms. Billion-dollar transaction information had been traded without my knowledge. The profits were used to stage presence and chance encounters with me. 10 days after the arrest, I faced him at the detention center. Why? At my question, Andrew slowly raised his face. His former gentlemanly expression was gone, replaced by a somewhat vacant smile. You were perfect, he begins in a whisper. From the day we met, I knew that you were my ideal. But you had him. Had a family. So I waited. For so long. And then. Michael's accident, Were you involved? No. That was truly an accident, he shakes his head quietly. But it was my chance. I could support you. I, who understood you better than anyone, could make you happy. That's what I thought. I was speechless at this twisted declaration of love. The man before me seemed like a completely different person from the colleague I once trusted. How's Noah doing? At the sudden question, I instinctively tense up. Don't ever mention him. I understand. But I really. Goodbye, Andrew. I stood up and left the visiting room. Though his voice called out behind me, I didn't look back. The following week, Premium Real Estate held a press conference. The CEO bowed deeply, apologizing for the inadequate information management. A complete review of internal security systems was promised, and support systems for me, the victim, were established. When offered a transfer to a new department, I thought for a moment before accepting. A different floor in the Prudential Tower. New colleagues. An environment to start everything from scratch. It was a necessary change for Noah and me. Mom, the new room is pretty. When I took my son to the new office, Noah gazed out the window with sparkling eyes. The Boston skyline looked different from this angle. Yes, it's our new beginning. While hugging my son, I gently touched my pearl necklace. Through this ordeal, our bond had grown stronger. We found the courage to take new steps forward, overcoming fear and anxiety. At the church support group, I met people with similar experiences. Conversations with them helped greatly in healing emotional wounds. Noah too gradually regained his sense of security through counseling. Hey Mom, after church this Sunday, can we have a picnic at Boston Common? I could genuinely smile and nod at my son's innocent suggestion. A new season was spreading before us. Outside the window, young maple leaves sparkled in the bright sunlight. Looking at Michael's photo, I quietly make a vow. To live forward without fear. That's our answer, gained through this ordeal. Drawing on my 10 years of experience at Premium Real Estate, I decided to make a fresh start in the new department. There are no dark shadows there. Instead, there's hope for a bright future. The sunset viewed from my new office window looked more beautiful than ever before. It seemed to herald the beginning of a new chapter. Holding Noah's hand tightly, I was certain. We would never look back again. Instead, we would walk our new path, step by step, with confidence. 1 year later, one morning. Mom, hurry. We'll be late. I smile in response to Noah's voice as he puts on his shoes at the entrance. Yes, I'm coming. Our new home is a bit smaller than before, but pleasant sunlight streams in. When I decided to move, everyone was worried, but it was the right choice. The St. Mary's Church community continues to support us. Work in the new department is going well, and last month I reclaimed my position as top sales agent. Mom, can I play with Billy and the others at Boston Common after school today? I nod without hesitation at my son's cheerful voice. We no longer need to fear being watched by anyone. The pearl necklace at my neck gleams in the morning sun. Now it's no longer a reminder of fear, but proof of the courage we've shown in overcoming adversity. Yesterday, I received a call from the prosecutor. Andrew's sentence had been finalized. 12 years in prison. He was found guilty of all charges: information leakage, breaking and entering, stalking, and all related crimes. They say he's receiving psychological counseling in prison. And that he wrote an apology letter to me. But I felt no need to read it. The past should remain in the past. Premium Real Estate completely revamped its internal security systems following this incident. Employee background checks became more rigorous. Sad as it may be, this incident perhaps gave many people cause to think about invisible dangers. Hey Mom, the weather forecast says it'll be sunny today. Noah's voice brings my thoughts back to the present. His smile shows no trace of anxiety anymore. Happy days with friends at his new school are gently painting over the old memories. In this city, we're beginning our new life. And we're not alone. Let's go, Noah. A new day gently unfolds before us as we walk hand in hand. The spring breeze quietly rustles the young maple leaves. It feels as though it's pushing us forward, telling us to keep looking ahead. While preparing breakfast, I gazed out the window. Autumn mornings in Eden Prairie are always quiet. This time of day has felt the loneliest since I lost my husband George 5 years ago. But today is Wednesday, the day I get to see my granddaughter Sophie's face. Just that thought warms my heart. My name is Barbara Miller. I'm turning 65. 3 years ago, I retired from the bank where I worked for over 30 years. I still vividly remember my farewell party on my last day at First National Bank, with all those heartfelt letters from longtime customers. That day too, I wished George had still been alive. Now, taking care of my 8-year-old granddaughter 3 times a week has become my precious routine. As I toast bread, I think about Sophie lately. She's in 3rd grade, with a bright and honest personality, and her teacher Mrs. Brown speaks very highly of her. She's stayed positive even after her parents' divorce. The other day during class observation, she solved a math problem at the blackboard and got applause from her classmates. Watching her always tugs at my heartstrings. As a grandmother, I can't help but worry about how the divorce is affecting her. The morning sun streaming through the kitchen window illuminates the wedding anniversary photo of George and me on the counter. Next to it is a photo of Eric, still young, smiling in his baseball uniform. The image of us as parents watching our son grow up is captured in there too. Time sure flies. A year ago, when my son Eric divorced Amanda, I completely blamed Amanda. I still regret my behavior from that time. When the talk of Eric's job transfer came up with his promotion, Amanda said she couldn't move because of her parents' nursing care needs. Their discussions reached an impasse, and ultimately, they chose divorce. If I had listened to them both more calmly back then, things might have turned out differently. Eric works diligently as a middle manager at an IT company. Focused on promotion opportunities, he sometimes gets too wrapped up in his work. He takes after his late father in that way. But he truly cherishes Sophie. On holidays, he always takes her to Purgatory Creek Park to play on the equipment and ride bikes. Though he's struggling to balance work and parenting since the divorce, honestly, he often relies on me for childcare. Just last week, when he had a sudden business trip, I looked after Sophie for 3 days. Meanwhile, Amanda, who was a stay-at-home mom before the divorce, now works 2 jobs, as a cashier at Cub Foods and at Applebee's. When I ran into her by chance at Eden Prairie Center recently, she looked tired and had lost weight. She seems to be desperately trying to rebuild her life while dealing with her parents' care needs. During the divorce, she conceded custody, hearing it was because of Eric's financial stability and stable living environment. Now she has visitation rights twice a month to see Sophie. A pleasant aroma of toasted bread wafts from the toaster. I stand up and water the houseplant by the window. It's a plant my husband left behind. Its leaves gleam in the morning sun. George loved plants. On his days off, he would enthusiastically tend to the garden. Even now, the flowers he planted bloom seasonally in the garden. Eric and Sophie live in a house in the suburbs. Their 2-story white house is about a 15-minute drive from my place. On weekdays, Sophie uses the after-school program. The $300 monthly fee isn't cheap, but it's a common choice in this area where many households have both parents working. I started taking care of her 3 times a week in the evenings because Eric started coming home later. Amanda lives alone in an old apartment in the next town, about a 40-minute drive away. I hear she's living frugally in a 2nd-floor apartment. As I sit at the dining table, I remember what Sophie told me on the phone yesterday. Next visitation day, I'm going to make pancakes with Mom, she said excitedly. Her voice still rings in my ears. While Sophie is devoted to her father, I can tell she's always thinking about her mother too. I wonder how much I really understand the complex feelings of a child with separated parents. After breakfast, I begin preparing for today. Wednesday evenings, I always make Sophie's favorite meatloaf. It's a recipe I learned from George's mother, which has now become what she calls Grandma's taste. While checking ingredients, I make a shopping list. Shopping at Target is part of my daily routine. I look at my reflection in the entryway mirror. I've gotten used to my silver short hair. Though I try to maintain a calm expression, my personality of becoming a bit forceful when it comes to family matters hasn't changed. That can be both good and bad. Maybe my years of experience at the bank made me this way. As I grab my car keys, I start preparing to leave, looking forward to seeing Sophie's smile today. It's the season when the street trees show beautiful autumn colors. This quiet morning air gently envelopes the day ahead. The neighborhood joggers have already started their activities. I stop by the bathroom to touch up my makeup. In my reflection, I see a mix of slight anxiety and abundant hope in my eyes. Even though our family structure has changed, there's still so much I can do. That's what I believe. Sometimes I still wonder if divorce was the right choice. But more important than that is how to support Sophie from here on. Maybe that's what keeps me going now. I check the photo in my wallet. One of Sophie's smiling face. It's her school graduation photo. What can I do for this child's happiness? With these thoughts in my heart, a new day was about to begin. I noticed the change around mid-October. One evening, while making Sophie's favorite meatloaf as usual, I noticed something different about her behavior. "Grandma, I'm sorry, my stomach hurts today." Sophie apologetically pushed away her plate. She had barely touched it. Eric had called to say he'd be late from work, so it was just Sophie and me that day. Where does it hurt? Should we go to the doctor? I worried and felt her forehead, but there was no fever. Sophie shook her head slightly. I'm okay. Just feeling a little sick. I decided to let her rest early that day, but the following week saw a similar scene. This time with chicken pot pie. This was also one of her favorites, but again she said, "My stomach hurts," and left more than half uneaten. A small sense of unease began growing inside me. I'd heard that Amanda would sometimes skip meals, claiming to be on a diet. Surely an 8-year-old child wouldn't. Such thoughts crossed my mind. The changes weren't just about food. The $5 weekly allowance I always give Sophie on Wednesdays, recently, I stopped hearing the sound of coins dropping into her piggy bank. She used to regularly have ice cream with friends at Eden Prairie Center. Though Sophie said, "There's nothing special I want this month," she increasingly checked her wallet, as if confirming something. Her return time from the after-school program gradually got later too. Usually home by 4:30, now it wasn't unusual for her to return after 5 o'clock. I was chatting with friends. I was reading in the library. Her voice had an unsettled quality when making these excuses. I mentioned this to Eric over the phone. "I've been so busy lately, haven't been able to properly check on Sophie." "Mom, could you keep an eye on her a bit longer?" Hearing the fatigue in my son's voice, I couldn't find words to argue. One day, while watching TV in the living room, I caught sight of Sophie secretly checking her phone in her room. Though I try to respect privacy, seeing an 8-year-old child furtively operating a phone made my heart clench. After that, I started consciously observing her. The food in the refrigerator was disappearing unusually quickly. Especially the pre-made side dishes would vanish in no time. At first, I was happy thinking her appetite had returned, but her movements at the dining table remained sluggish. Her school backpack seemed unusually full on more days. "Sophie, have you gotten more homework lately?" "Yes, math is a bit difficult." Her voice lacked energy. When I called the school to check, there was no mention of increased assignments. Then, the decisive moment suddenly arrived. One Wednesday evening after dinner, I went upstairs to get the laundry. As I climbed the dimly lit stairs, I heard a concerning sound. It was coming from the bathroom. The door was slightly ajar. Through the light seeping out, I witnessed a scene I could hardly believe. Sophie was carefully packing dinner leftovers into plastic bags. With practiced movements, trying not to make a sound. As if she had done this many times before. "Sophie." At the sound of my voice, she froze. When she turned around, large tears glistened in her eyes. "Grandma, please don't ask, please don't tell." Sophie pleaded in a thin voice. Something in that voice sent chills down my spine. This wasn't just fear of being scolded. Something more serious was being hidden. The bathroom fluorescent light flickered irregularly. In that light, my granddaughter's face contorted. In my mind, all the recent oddities suddenly connected. Late return times. Unused allowance. Disappearing food. Heavy backpack. Secretly used phone. Everything seemed to exist for this moment. "Sophie, are you?" I couldn't continue. I lacked the courage to understand what the scene before me meant. In the plastic bag, my homemade meatloaf was neatly wrapped. Grandma's meatloaf is really, really delicious. So. The rest of her words turned into sobs. My hand trembled as it gripped the doorknob. Opening this door would surely change something big in our family. I sensed that intuitively. Through the bathroom window, I could see the evening sky. Its orange tint seemed like our daily life slowly changing color. Since that night, I couldn't get the reason for Sophie's tears out of my mind. The scene in the bathroom kept replaying like an old movie scene, over and over. Grandma, please don't ask, please don't tell. The weight of those words squeezed my heart. Should I tell Eric? I wrestled with this decision for several days. My son was busy with a big project recently. I wanted to avoid anything that might affect his work. But was this something I should handle alone? First, I called Prairie View Elementary School. I intended to schedule a meeting with Mrs. Brown. However, the response was, "We haven't noticed anything concerning." Rather, I got positive feedback. Recently, her relationships with friends are good, and her attitude in class is diligent. Next, I tried contacting Sarah's mother, Sophie's best friend who lives nearby. Pretending to bump into her at Eden Prairie Center. Sophie and Sarah seem to play together a lot lately, don't they? Though I brought it up casually, she tilted her head. Huh? Sarah says she hasn't been playing much with Sophie lately. Even at the after-school program, Sophie's been leaving early. Those words deepened my concerns. I decided to observe Sophie's behavior more carefully. Every Wednesday, I drive to pick her up from the after-school program. One day, I arrived 30 minutes earlier than usual. I caught Sophie leaving through the school gates. There was still over an hour until the program ended. "Oh, Sophie." At my voice, she was clearly startled. "Grandma, it ended early today." Both her excuse and her hurried attempt to hide her smartphone were unnatural. Back home, I secretly checked her room. Though I felt guilty, I also had a responsibility as her grandmother. As expected, her piggy bank was empty. She should have saved 3 months' worth of $5 weekly allowances. In the back of her drawer, I found several used bus tickets. Where had she been going? Late that night, passing by the upstairs hallway, I noticed a bluish light leaking from Sophie's room. Peeking through the gap in the door, I saw her operating her smartphone under the covers. A messaging app was open on the screen. The name of the recipient, my eyes suddenly welled up. Mom. Seeing those letters, I began to understand the reason for Sophie's changes. At breakfast the next morning, I tried bringing up the topic. "Have you been seeing Mom lately?" Sophie's reaction at that moment was far from normal. She dropped her spoon and hung her head, face turning bright red. "Yes, twice a month." A trembling voice. Obviously a lie. Various possibilities started swirling in my mind. Worst case, could she be being bullied? Being demanded food and money? Just thinking about it sent chills down my spine. Or was this the beginning of delinquency? The dangerous invitations through smartphones we often see on TV. No, Sophie's only 8 years old. But recent news talks about how these things are affecting younger children. I couldn't sleep at night. I kept questioning myself on the pillow. Was this family environment wrong from the start? I share responsibility for too easily accepting the divorce. I should have considered Amanda's position more. Even while standing in the kitchen, my reflection in the window looked tired. Eric was still working late as usual. He hadn't noticed the changes in Sophie's behavior. This couldn't be left alone. I started thinking about Amanda. During the divorce, I unilaterally blamed her. I said she should prioritize following my son's transfer over her parents' care. Looking back, that was an incredibly harsh demand. And now, my attitude then might be affecting my granddaughter's strange behavior. The family photo in the entryway watches me. Sophie smiling happily. But I had been completely blind to the real feelings hidden behind that smile. We need to reconsider our relationship with my former daughter-in-law. That was painfully clear. But first, protecting Sophie right in front of me takes priority. While preparing dinner in the kitchen at dusk, I had made up my mind. Tomorrow, after school, I would have a serious talk with Sophie. Surely, her heart must be carrying burdens beyond my imagination. The next morning, I knocked on Sophie's door earlier than usual. No response. Quietly opening the door, the bed was empty, and Sophie's smartphone was left on the pillow. The screen was still lit. My hands trembled. This would be invading her privacy. But I couldn't overlook Sophie's changes anymore. Steeling myself, I looked at the screen, where a messaging app remained open. "Mom, I'll bring some again today. Grandma's meatloaf is really, really delicious. Sophie, thank you. But any more than this? It's okay. Grandma makes lots of food. This way you can work hard, right, Mom?" My vision blurred. Scrolling back through the message dates, the exchanges had been continuing for 3 months. The nursing home payment must have been tough again this month. I saved all my allowance. "Sophie, please keep your allowance for yourself. Mom will manage somehow. But Grandpa and Grandma's nursing care costs a lot, right? The teacher said so. She said nursing homes cost really, really much." The more I scrolled through the screen, the tighter my chest felt. An 8-year-old girl, desperately trying to support her mother. Working so hard in ways we adults never noticed. All the mysteries connected. Sophie had been taking the bus 40 minutes after school to her mother's apartment. And secretly delivering my cooking to her mother. I hurriedly called Eric. Unusually, he answered right away. "Eric, come home immediately. Something serious has." An hour later, we sat on the living room sofa, looking at Sophie's messages. Eric's face turned pale. My son, who had always maintained composure as an IT company middle manager, showed raw emotion for the first time. Why didn't I notice? His voice trembled. I was so focused on work, I lost sight of what's important. I prioritized promotion chances and didn't consider Amanda's feelings. I couldn't even notice Sophie's changes. His hands shook as he gripped the documents on the desk. It was last month's promotion declination notice. From now on, I want to put family first. I finally realized there are things more important than promotion. Amanda's parents have severe dementia requiring special care. The facility costs $6,000 per month. You blamed her. I scolded my son strongly for the first time. We blamed Amanda too one-sidedly. We completely forgot to consider her position. Being forced to choose between caring for her parents or moving with the family, how painful that must have been. Just then, the doorbell rang. Opening it, there stood Sophie and Amanda. Amanda was frozen in surprise. She had caught Sophie trying to take my homemade lunch again. I'm so sorry. I told Sophie many times to stop, but tears spilled from Amanda's eyes. Seeing her emaciated figure, my heart ached. The life of juggling 2 jobs while caring for her parents had driven her this far. I was wrong. Amanda's voice trembled. I should have discussed my parents' care needs earlier. But after ruining Eric's promotion opportunity, I thought I didn't have the right to ask for help anymore. Eric stepped forward. I'm the one who needs to apologize. I tried to force the transfer on you without listening to your feelings. Demanding that you prioritize my job over your parents, that was too cruel. But your career. There are things more important than career. I didn't realize it until now. Until Sophie taught me. Amanda, who had just finished her shift at Applebee's, was still in her uniform. Seeing her standing there exhausted, Eric offered her a chair. That evening, we all sat around the dining table as a family for the first time in a long while. On the table was my meatloaf. Sophie watched the adults' faces with concern. Sophie, Eric began. Papa couldn't think about Mom's feelings. I'm really sorry. I took a deep breath and voiced the suggestion I'd been considering for a long time. Let's share the care costs between us. I truly apologize for leaving everything to Amanda until now. Amanda looked surprised. But, that's... No, this is what family should do. I'm sorry for everything until now. Let's all support each other from here on. With those words, I felt the long-standing divide slowly beginning to fill. While eating, we discussed specific support measures. Eric and I would cover half of the nursing home costs. Visitation time would increase from twice a month to weekly. Eric promised to help with transporting her parents to and from the care facility. Let's have lunch together every Sunday, I suggested. Sophie's face lit up. It was the first genuinely happy smile I'd seen from her in a while. We also decided to look into local caregiving support services. We discovered Eden Prairie has various support systems for elderly care. Let's have regular family meetings too, Amanda suggested. A look of relief appeared on her face for the first time in ages. That way, we can better understand each other's situations. I'll try not to shoulder everything alone anymore. I'll adjust my work schedule too, Eric added. I don't want to prioritize work over everything else like before. At dusk, as everyone was preparing to return to their homes, Sophie ran up to me. Behind her, Eric and Amanda watched fondly. Grandma, I'm sorry. Sorry for keeping secrets. I hugged my granddaughter tightly. Sophie taught us the true meaning of family. Amanda approached and gently stroked Sophie's head. Eric's hand overlapped hers. Outside the window, the setting sun gently illuminated the town. Our new beginning was about to start. A month later, we all gathered around the table again. We're finding optimal solutions for Amanda's parents' care by discussing everything together. Using local care support services has gradually lightened Amanda's burden. Eric comes home earlier than before and makes sure to spend time with family on weekends. Our weekly family lunches continue without fail. Mom, today's lunch was delicious too. Amanda's eyes moistened at Sophie's words. There's no need to secretly pack food anymore. Instead, we often cook together now. Standing in the kitchen, I listened to my family's laughter. Divorce didn't destroy our bonds. Rather, it gave us the opportunity to become a true family. An 8-year-old girl's pure love taught us that. Eric and Amanda have started walking in the same direction now. Complete reconciliation might still take time. But we're moving forward, one step at a time, steadily. This family's new story has just begun. But I'm sure we'll be fine. After all, we have Sophie, our small but strong bond. 6 months have passed. Sunday morning, and my kitchen is filled with family laughter. Hey, Grandma, am I cutting this meat right? Sophie holds the knife with a serious expression. Today, we're all making meatloaf at my house. What I used to make alone has now become a family tradition recipe that we all make together. Well done, Sophie. Teach Mom too. Amanda stands beside her daughter, gently guiding her hand on the knife. I can't help but smile at this natural interaction between mother and daughter. Eric talks about work while taking plates from the cupboard. Since last month, he's secured 2 work-from-home days per week. He uses that time to help transport Amanda's parents to and from the care facility. Dad, can I go to the facility's family meeting next time? Of course. Grandpa and Grandma will be so happy. Sophie's voice bounces with excitement. Her smile no longer clouds over like before. Looking around at my family gathered at the table, I realize that even though divorce changed our form, we're definitely still family. In fact, we're bound by stronger ties than before. This is our new family form, which now feels natural to accept. Sunday meals, facility visits, school events. Our calendar is filled with family activities. It might not be the perfect family picture, but it's a relationship where we care for and support each other. Barbara, here's your tea. The warm aroma of tea rises from the cup Amanda offers me. Our former conflicts have transformed into gentle consideration. Everyone, let's eat. Sophie's voice starts our new Sunday meal. Outside the window, Eden Prairie's sunlight gently embraces us all.